Back to Shovick Sports Shit. I'm Cory.
I am Austin.
Dive into some NFL stuff today and go ahead and preview some good matchups for the Broncos and Chiefs this weekend. We're 1 week away from Chiefs Broncos. So I'm not sure how we want to go about that next week, but we'll come up with that then. We'll go ahead and dive into some Instagram comments from outside the first state who commented their prediction for the Chiefs-Raiders game. Rather close. You said they're hoping for a blowout, but it's always an ugly fight between Chiefs and Raiders, which, again, it's a rivalry game. So, of course, they'll say 28-14 for KC to stay undefeated. Let's call it what it is. The Chiefs did control it most of the game. The Raiders kind of made a late push, but, again, Chiefs didn't struggle much. Their defense, I guess you could say that was probably one of their letdown games, apparently, I guess. I don't know. But, again, Chiefs win. They're undefeated still, and they still didn't even play their best game. Even though the offense did kind of start waking up a little bit, Travis started getting involved more, and we'll go more into the review of that game here shortly. So thanks to those guys for commenting. We'll keep asking those questions weekly to get more, basically more predictions of the scores. You guys seem to like doing that when we've posted it on there. We did some Rookie of the Year stuff that we'll go into here shortly as well. Let's kind of dive into some sports news. The biggest one being Stephon Diggs tearing his ACL. Big off-season acquisition for the Texans. They're already down Nico Collins, so now you're down Stephon Diggs. What is your take on that loss for the Texans?
Yeah, it's a big loss. It's a pretty dominant receiver, kind of somebody you have to roll coverages to and make life easier for others as well. So, big loss for the Texans. Good teams have to figure it out, though. No sympathy from a Chiefs fan, down top like 6 receivers at this point. So, with that being said, more just hope Stephon Diggs can bounce back, recover just in time. Going to be kind of an aging receiver heading into free agency with this being adjusted and restructured as a prove-it year. So, going to be a tough timeline for him to get healthy to start next year, but hope he can latch onto a good team, get a good payday, and recover fully. But as far as Texans go, everyone's battling injuries, so we'll just see if the next man up is good enough for them or not.
Diggs will be on the Chiefs next year. That's my prediction. So let's go into the Indianapolis real quick. We won't spend too much time on it because it's hilarious either way. Anthony Richardson getting benched for Joe Flacco. Homie took himself out of the game, too tired. So the coach is basically saying, well, if you're too tired, you can't start. Joe Flacco is going to give us the go this week and probably the rest of the season. I think I'm going to ask you this. Is Anthony Richardson done with the Indianapolis Colts?
Man, that was a quick leash, and who knows what the internal dialogue is within the organization and coaches and quarterback and everything. But from the outside looking in, I'd have to say yes. Some things you can work with, but I think when you say things out loud and you say these things out loud to the media about being too tired, it's just not a good look, honestly. It's a really good way, and I think it's what's happened is it's a good way to lose your locker room, lose the trust that they have in you. Again, he was a high draft pick, so you usually have a little longer of a leash. I do think the only way he plays again this year or starts again, they might have packages for him still, like goal line and whatnot. I don't know how much they want to just not use him, but barring an injury to Flacco, I don't think he's going to be a starter again this year. And after that, I think it really depends because you see what this team can be when you have a quarterback who's okay. Like Flacco's not an MVP, but he's good enough to give that team a chance every time he started. So yeah, it's me personally. I do think he's done in Indy. I don't think we'll see the Colts be his team again. So That's going to be a tough one to follow, but it's you and I kind of saw it coming before the season. Like we never bought the hype.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm quite ready there to say he's done with the Colts quite yet, but I do think it's now going to be. At first, it was an uphill climb. Now it's going to be you got to climb a mountain to get your trust of your locker room back, your coaching staff, your teammates, the front office. Because let's call it that's a bitch move, honestly. I don't see offensive linemen getting a chance to just take themselves out of a game. Yeah, you have a rotation of running backs and receivers, but that's their position. That comes with the position. You're supposed to be quarterback's obviously the face of the franchise no matter what. And I don't think the Colts want that associated with it. So I think that's why the move's right. And yeah, I don't know if I'm quite ready to say it yet, but I think it is going to be an way uphill climb for him.
Yeah, I don't know how you bounce back from that. Truth be told, I mean, I'm not old and I haven't seen a lot of things as far as like experiences go in the NFL, but it's the first time I recall a quarterback taking himself out because he's tired. Now, it could have been it's probably happened before, but we've never known about it, and that's how it should be.
Right.
You know, like if and don't Anthony Richardson running for his life, a lot of running packages. Like I get it, you probably are tired, but you also got to read the room. Like it was 3rd and long, you knew it was a handoff the next play to just get some yardage and go from there. Like if you are tired, hey, don't let it. We should never hear about it. Have that conversation with your teammates, with your coaches, and be like, hey, I'm tired. Let's reel it back a little bit. Let me catch my breath type deal. As just a person, I appreciate the honesty. I love it. It gives us something to talk about, laugh about a little bit, and kind of wonder what the hell was going through his mind. But I don't know. I guess the competitor in me I don't know if he can bounce back from something like that. It's a bad look. And I don't know Anthony Richardson personally. He could be a great dude, great teammate, great competitor, all the above. But just from seeing that, it's just I don't know how you come back from that. That's going to stick with you for a long time, whether you're with the Colts or not. We're in the world now.
You now have a reputation for the wrong reason.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's talk a couple trades. Deontay Johnson obviously to the Ravens, but Chiefs made a trade. And since we're a Chiefs/Broncos podcast, we're going to cover this Chiefs trade. We get Joshua Uche from the Patriots, another sneaky good move. It's a depth piece because Minihoo's going to be back at some point. But again, for what they gave up for this dude, it's a fucking crime. The teams continue to do this. So the rich get richer again. But you're the Chiefs fan, and this is your moment. Go ahead and give us your thoughts on Joshua Uche.
This isn't a move where I think we want him to come in and be a double-digit sack guy for us. I think this was a strategic move. I think this is preparing yourself for Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. This is a dude who will immediately become the fastest player in our front seven. Again, I can't sit here and say this guy single-handedly will be able to contain Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. But he has the speed to be able to do special things that Spags will come up with. This isn't... I know we want to... Every move that teams make, we want to think it's just a dynamite move, but in reality, I think this is a very small move with very specific opponents down the road in mind. And for a 6th-round pick, whatever he gives us in the regular season is fine. But I think the special ways that we're going to see him used in the postseason, if we do end up matching up with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and any other dual threat mobile quarterback, is when you'll really see why we made this trade. So I love the move. It does add depth. You can never... years past, you can never have enough pass rush depth. Yeah, this isn't a Michael Strahan move. We didn't just trade for the greatest pass rusher ever. But I think it is a quality move for the late round draft picks. So I still think there's a few more holes that I'm curious to see if we address, but I like this move more than I like the DeAndre Hopkins one. I'll put it that way.
I don't think the Chiefs are going to be done either. They need a corner, and I think there's a corner out there. And just for everything I'm reading, they seem to say sources are saying the Chiefs are going to pull a trigger. Again, it's hearsay, but I still don't think they're done. I think they do want to make that move, bring one more piece in, and then call it a day, especially when you're all in. We talked about this last week about their Super Bowl windows now. So you make these kinds of moves to ensure that you get that history piece. That's all this is. It's a history piece. I think after this year is when they're not going to worry about it too much, but why not stop at 3, right? Now, next year it could be, hey, let's go for 4. So, I mean, but now is now. You got to think now, and your Super Bowl windows now. So I think that's why they're being so aggressive with that. So that'll do it for the sports hits. Let's dive into Chiefs Raiders review. Always a good day when the Raiders lose. Go to 2-6 in the very, very last place of the AFC West where they belong. Again, don't let the score fool you. 27-20. Chiefs controlled this game. Raiders offense is just not good. Call it what it is. Not good at all. They had 228 total yards of offense on 56 plays, whereas the Chiefs had 334 on 68 plays. Non-existent for their offense. It's not sad to see at all. It's hilarious. But again, it's the fact that the Chiefs still let it become a one-possession game. Again, give us your thoughts and your rundown on the Chiefs going to 7-0 and the Raiders going to 2-6.
Yeah, I mean, I dislike the Raiders as much as the next, but I will start off with one positive about the Raiders, just so people are aware that we can still see what's really there and acknowledge it before just talking a bunch of shit. I will say the Raiders, they do have a lot of fight in them, defensively at least. Offense, I'll talk about that in a minute from them, but they know they're not very good, or I think they're aware that they're not very good and they should going to be outmatched a lot, but they have some fight to them. I think that comes from Antonio Pierce. I feel like the offense left a lot out there, but looking back, I think it's just Raiders defense was not as bad as we think. They have some pieces and they try, and that gets you so far, just not into the win column. With that being said, I think the Raiders' offense is absolutely atrocious. They have okay pieces, but I think the play calling was it was terrible. They get that interception. They're starting inside the 7-yard line, and they just run 3 straight plays into a brick wall. And it's like, do you know what, A, you have to know what you're working with. B, know what the defense's strength is. It's weird to say, but Chiefs' strength this year is the run defense. Plain and simple.
Yeah, and real quick on that run defense, Alexander Mattison had 14 carries for 15 yards. As a team, they had 21 carries for 33 yards, which is a 1.6 average. I get sticking with the run game, but
yeah, and I know
who you're playing against, know the strengths of who you're playing against.
Yeah, and I know we always say, stick to the run, and you should, but it has to be situational as well. You're inside the 7-yard line and you run just into a brick wall every time and then end up getting no points out of that. That's deflating. Your defense just got a huge play and you did literally nothing with it, got no points for it. So that's atrocious. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You have to situationally know what to do. But the numbers you just said, I don't even know. Yes, their run game isn't the greatest. They don't have the best, elite running backs, elite offensive line. But they also don't do anything to help them out as far as designed runs. It's like, hey man, here's the ball, try to find a hole. And it's like, okay. You don't do any kind of, again, I didn't review every play, so I'm just trying to remember some of the runs. I saw no special pin and pulls. I saw no trap blocks. You didn't do anything but turn around, hand it off, and hope something happened. And you can't have success that way. You're just going off right now. They dislike the Raiders as much as us. That's really what they were saying. But there's a lot they need to work on in Las Vegas. I obviously wish the game could have been a lot wider as far as the score goes. But yeah, I think it starts with their play calling offensively for improvement. So yeah, they kept it close. I think it's because Chiefs kind of, against all of our wishes, didn't keep the gas down. Got some plastic. Had to get that from them. They didn't keep the gas down, and they did just what they did all year, which was coast. Which, hey, we had bigger games to worry about than the Raiders, let's be honest. Obviously wanted to make sure we definitely won this, but at the end of the day, our goal is a lot different season long than the Raiders. So stuck to the game plan, got the win. Let's see if they come out and mock Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs anymore again, though. I'm curious on that one.
The biggest thing that stands out, obviously that was our key last week, right? Don't let Max Crosby turn the game around. Don't let Max Crosby be the reason the Raiders win. He had three tackles, 2 solo, but no QB hits. That's huge. So credit to.
With that being said, just to give Max his due, when the Chiefs were backed up, they lined him up. They moved him around, which was a weird thing, but it makes sense. They lined him up on Wanya, backed up in the end zone, and he got 2 or 3 straight penalties for holding Max. A couple of them were big first down plays that got called back. So he didn't get the QB hits or the sacks, but he definitely he did what he could. Those were 2 big holding penalties, which I know that the refs aren't supposed to call flags on the Chiefs, but another game they did. So his numbers weren't there, but he still had that impact because I do believe that ended up being a couple possessions where we punted. So he did cause havoc. It just wasn't with QB hits and sacks this go around.
Another stat that kind of just looking through, Chiefs had 7 tackles for losses on defense. That doesn't help the offense out if you're behind the chains. But again, you look at those rushing numbers and you see why he had 14 carries for 15 yards and you're averaging 1 point whatever per carry for the team. But again, I think just looking at, obviously, Travis 10 for 90, that's huge. So it was just a good day in general, spreading the ball out. Obviously, got DeAndre Hopkins a couple catches for 29 yards. So I mean, again, you get the dub. I mean, there's things that you can work on, things that you can improve on. But I think as far as everything goes and what our keys were last week, I think it was really huge for the Chiefs. And again, like I said, and even to your point, even though the penalties and stuff, but you still weren't letting Max Crosby win. He didn't beat you guys. He didn't change the game. I think the biggest part was when you get to the interception and you don't get anything out of it inside the 10-yard line. That absolutely cannot happen. Any team that does that, you're probably not going to win the game. That's a huge swing and a miss. So again, pieces that they got to work on. I don't see them doing anything major, obviously, for the trade deadline, but I also don't see them winning many games the rest of the season. Not a bad thing. I mean, obviously, sit with a good draft pick. You're going to have some cap. Now the big offseason question is going to turn to, is Max Crosby staying? Does he want to stay? Is he going to force his way out? But that's for the offseason. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, the one thing I do want to point out was kind of already the DeAndre Hopkins effect. And it kind of goes to, I know we briefly touched on it. I don't know if we emphasized it, but to just see the effect it already had when he was out there. It's not a coincidence that the field opened up for Travis Kelce over the middle. That's again, I mentioned we didn't trade for him to get 15 catches and 150 yards a week anymore. Make crucial catches when we need it, but also make life easier for what we have around D-Hop. And you already saw, I mean, we schemed a lot of things open for Worthy too. Some of them didn't connect. But it was more open for him than it had been. And that's the DeAndre Hopkins effect. So you already slightly saw the reasoning of bringing someone like him in, and it's only going to get better. Now, I do think he'll be more involved moving forward. But the effect that it had specifically for Kelce in the middle of the field, Kelce didn't just wake up that morning and just magically start getting looked. Patrick still looks at him first all the time, but teams are still taking him out. It didn't just magically open up because teams didn't want to cover Travis anymore. It opened up because you do have to still kind of consider DeAndre Hopkins a legit threat. And that's the reason you trade for him, not because you want 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns. So that was one of my favorite parts of seeing the trade and seeing him out there. And I'm curious to see how much that really does help us down the road. But I definitely wanted to point that out, that even though it wasn't the full effect that we'll see, you already saw a little bit of it, and it ended up in Travis Kelce having beautiful game on National Tight End Days. So Chiefs fans should be excited for that.
12 targets. So of those 12 targets, 10 catches. Xavier Worthy had 8 targets. Of those, he had 4 for 37 and a touchdown. So obviously the target share for him is going to go up as well. I still think, man, some of those catches could have went a long way, but again, he's not hard to tackle once you get a hold of him. That was wild to me. There was one, he was going around the corner, and I was like, oh, he's got this, and he just got absolutely destroyed. That's not on him, all right? That's just, he's like 150 pounds. Either way, get him an open space, he'll be just fine. So again, it was a good win for the Chiefs. Again, stay undefeated. You don't play your best football still. You have a really good chance this weekend or Monday night. Buccaneers are obviously beat up, and we'll get into that one here shortly. We're not going to spend much time on the Broncos game either. They played the Panthers, handled business. Slow start, which is weird. Looked like a all-pro the first couple of drives. But Denver's defense finally settled in a little bit. I think Sean had a couple choice words for the team during that. It was definitely Bo Nix's best game as a quarterback. Again, I don't care it was against the Panthers. I just want to continuously see him making progress. That's the whole point of a rookie quarterback. Is he getting better every week? Is he making stupid decisions? He was not. He also was not turning the ball over. I did take a couple sacks, but that's not on him. The one was on him. He held on to the ball too long. But again, they get a good win, 28-14. Bo has a career high in passing yards, 284, 3 touchdowns. Then he ran the ball in his worst running game, 5 carries, 4 yards, and a touchdown. But that's okay. He accounted for 4 touchdowns. Denver moves on 5-3. Now the fun starts this weekend and next weekend. But this weekend is Baltimore. We'll get into that here shortly as well. What is your outside opinion on the Broncos against I don't even know what you call them, the Panthers?
Bless their hearts. I don't know. It's hard to have takeaways. Like, you still want to treat them like an actual football team, because truth be told, even though they're not a good NFL team, like, they still have world-class athletes, are still better than 99.9% of people at football. I think, like you said, the best takeaway is they did what they were supposed to do. Not to just be a dick, but as bad as Denver's been the last decade or so, I think one of the first real steps of seeing progress is beating teams that you're supposed to, or that you think you should. And this was the right direction for it. Bo looked good reads, good decisions. I think you'd like to see with it being the Panthers, would have preferred to see a little bit cleaner as far as let's limit the fumbles and stuff, but that's not really on Bo Nix. You just got to hold on to the football if you're catching it and carrying it. So there's still things to clean up, but I don't know, you beat the team you should have beaten, and at the end of the day, that's really what you can ask for. I don't want to say at this point of a rebuild. What are Denver fans? Is this a rebuild? Is this a
50,
now that you're
I don't say it's a
you're kind of
rebuild.
halfway through this season and you're kind of sitting in a playoff position? So is it a rebuild?
Yeah.
Is it a see what you got season? I don't know. I know before the season I called it a see what you got season, but
I still
you
think
keep
it's
winning.
I still do.
Yeah. Okay, so if we're going with a see what you got season, I think as an outsider, I'm not scared of what I see from Denver.
No.
I'm not sitting back with the Chiefs. Now, don't get me wrong, Denver pulling upset on Baltimore and that Chiefs Broncos game is fucking lit, and Denver pulls that out and we actually have a division race. But right now, as a fan of an opposing team that's a rival, I'm not worried with what I see. Trying to take a step back and just a football point of view, you kind of like what you see. I think you definitely know you have your quarterback of the future. The level he reaches, you don't know yet. Is it going to be Patrick and C.J. Stroud and Aaron Rodgers? He's going to step back a little bit and be, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins. There's the tiers to the quarterbacks. I think he's proven he can play in the NFL. Now it's just how much can him and Sean do together to get to whatever point he can be. But I think Denver looks a lot better than even I expected, and I thought that they were going to be okay. I think I agreed with you before the season that we thought they were better than what we saw on paper going into the season. Like, people were hating what the roster and everything looked like, but you and I thought there was more talent than people would give credit. And I think we're seeing that. Like, there's talent on that roster.
And I have those receipts. I'm just not pulling them out yet because it's still 5-3. So we'll wait, and hopefully I get a chance to pull it out. But I mean, even if you go back to when we had Matt on here from, the Broncos, the OC News 365 on Instagram, even he and I were, we may have had some homer decisions in there about, the Broncos, but I still think we gave an honest reaction to what we thought the roster was, and you're starting to see that most of the picks that we thought were going to be strengths have been strengths, and the weaknesses have been the weaknesses. I mean, you can look at it on paper and know, we knew we were going to need linebackers, and Alex Singleton gets hurt. Now you really know you need linebackers. We knew tight end was going to be a trouble spot. Okay. But again, even just, you can't have your two veteran receivers fumble. Little Jordan Humphrey fumbles on the first drive. That's a beautiful drive that was going. He fumbles, and then Cortland fumbles at the 1 yard line. Those are two veteran receivers that you guys have got to help your rookie quarterback.
Yeah, you get away with that against the Panthers.
Yes.
But think about it, when you start playing the Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals, some of these other kind of AFC powerhouse teams that you're bound to face, those will cost you in other games. So it is a little concerning against a team like the Panthers, but at least it was against the Panthers. Hopefully it's something you can address to avoid, especially with the Ravens are coming off an L. Like, they're not going to be thrilled. As bad as their defense has been, they can still force turnovers and have talent. So I think you're spot on. You got to clean that stuff up because Bo Nix is doing his thing. Now you guys got to help him out. He's elevating you guys a little bit. Now have his back and elevate him. Make some plays for him.
Yeah, Troy Franklin had another huge drop down the sideline. That would have been, another outstanding play. There was a couple that Cortland dropped in the middle of the field. Little Jordan Humphrey, same thing. So again, the drops are an issue, and you're hitting the next 2 weeks of, you can't afford, like, your margin of error now is so razor thin that you fumble on the 1 yard line against the Chiefs, they're taking it 99 yards in probably 6 minutes. They're going to get you. They're going to show you a true ultimate drive. That's just how good teams do. And that's not a shot at anybody. That's just saying, hey, these next 2 weeks are going to show you, are you really a contender playoff team, or are you just beating the teams that you're supposed to, which is still a good thing. But now it's two different things, and we'll kind of jump into some of those. And I'm actually really, really trying not to get ahead of myself because I am excited to talk Chiefs Broncos next week. But I still, at the same time, you got the Ravens, bad loss. Sir Jameis Winston doing his thing, and then just spitting bars in his press game or his news conference. I love that guy. I love Jameis Winston so much, and it sucks that it took so long for him to get another opportunity to play. But we won't go into that. I will want the last thing about the Broncos. Yeah, you're thinking about those bars he's spitting in the post-game interview as well.
He's out here just spitting M&M bars, like being all like hyped and stuff. Like,
just thinking about M&M. I was just losing myself. You only got one shot. And then I was, bruh.
Well, it's crazy. Like, this is like his 6th shot. So, like, the facts aren't even lining up. But, like, the fact you're just out here trying to quote Eminem to be all like, I don't know. I love Jameis. I'm not going to hate on him, but I think I sent that video of him when Deshaun went down for fantasy purposes when he was like, I got his back, and was preaching to the choir, and I'm just like, this guy, like,
Just saying what
I
you
don't know.
needed to say on it.
It,
So let's jump
that's not
into.
even it. Like, you don't rap an Eminem song to say what you need to say. I don't know. Like, I hope we get more though. Like,
Oh,
I
dude,
love it.
he's
I'm
the
here
quarter.
for
Yeah,
it.
we're gonna get some of that. I think the Broncos
Yeah.
actually play the Browns in a couple weeks, so that could be fun.
Hey.
So let's jump into Monday Night Football. Arrowhead primetime Monday night. Chiefs 9-point favorites at home, as they should be. I think the spread would have been a lot closer if the Bucs weren't so fucking beat up. Their receivers are absolutely just disappeared, essentially. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. Baker, he looks like a guy who doesn't have his top two receivers. Now, Kate Otton's obviously, he's a good, well, he's Baker's favorite target, I think. Then you have Rashad White. Then, you kind of go from there, but then you kind of just look around and it's like, what else do they have? So give us a couple points on maybe what scares you about the Bucs, or are you even really worried that much?
I am a little bit. Look, man, Baker's a competitor. Uh, he found a way to scrap with what he didn't have and make do with what he had. But I know I've said it before, and it hasn't necessarily happened. One of these times I'll be right. I don't think we match up well with them. They have a tight end who's really good. We're not good at covering tight ends. We did adjust to Brock Bowers a little bit, though, so maybe we're starting to figure something out. But they also throw to their running backs a lot and effectively. Those have been two weak spots of an otherwise really stout defense for the Chiefs. I'm not super worried with the receivers. They got some quick little gadget guys, so you're always kind of worried that they might break one. But that's against any team. Like, any team can have that guy who just busts one. But I think from a consistent usage standpoint, Kate Otten, and then all their running backs in the receiving game, it does worry me a little bit. Baker has, I think, what they do, the Falcons last week.
Yeah.
Baker proved that he will throw it to his tight end and running backs if that's all he has. Hopefully, we're aware of that. I trust Spags. That's what worries me a little bit. The Bucs don't have the greatest offensive line, so I do think we can get some pressure and hopefully neutralize that a little bit. But I know that's a large spread, but I still think I'd feel more comfortable if the spread was 3 to 5 points for the Chiefs, just for the simple fact that I'm still, Chiefs offense hasn't proven that they're gunslinging yet. So, I think both teams can very easily get into the 20s and keep it kind of in that 6 to 12 range point wise. And, all it takes is one or two plays to bounce one way or the other to really determine it. So I think this will be a closer game than people think. I do say primetime and Arrowhead will favor the Chiefs some, but I fully expect a better game than what most people are expecting.
Yeah, so Baker had to throw 50 times last game. He still threw for 330 and 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But on the season, the dude's thrown for 2,189 yards, 21 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. The interceptions just happened recently, the last couple of weeks. So there for a little bit, he had a really good touchdown to interception ratio. And then, shocker, Travis Kelce leads the Chiefs in receiving yards, 38 catches for 335 and 1 touchdown. So there's that guy, right? Obviously, it's not his standard and his pace, but again, that just shows you who is, in the end, this is the guy that's going to get looked at. And I think he's going to be huge again this week. Again, 10 catches, 90 yards against the Raiders. I still think he goes over 100 this week. As much as we love the Buccaneers linebackers, let's be honest, Trev still has a little bit left in the tank. Their secondary is a little banged up as well. But again, 9-point spread, I still see the Chiefs winning by double digit. I do. It's that offense is just, they're beat up. Denver sacked Baker 7 times when they were healthy. And I still think the Chiefs defense is better than Denver, obviously. So I think they can pressure Baker more. And Spags is way more aggressive than what Vance Joseph is. So do I see him getting sacked 7 times? It could be close, just based on the pressure that the Chiefs are able to get. Chris Jones, how many times did we see him against the Raiders just boom, immediately in the backfield, so he's obviously doing well, right? So yeah, give me the Chiefs by, I'll say 10. We'll put it in even 10. I don't think it's going to be high scoring, kind of like you're saying. So give me like 24-14 Chiefs.
Yeah, no, I think Bucks are set up well defensively to take out Kels just with Devontae David and Antoine Winfield. So we'll have to have someone else step up. It'll be Chiefs don't have a banger of a run game, and it's going to be a little tougher with Vita Vea kind of right there in the middle. Our interior is good, don't get me wrong, but it's still Vita Vea. Dude takes up a lot of space, makes a lot of moves.
Saw him get in the backfield a couple times, and we were like, my God.
Yeah, he's I think the most underrated and undervalued interior lineman in football. Give me him all day. With that being said, I don't think it'll be double digits. I think it'll be more like a 27-21 Chiefs win. Baker's too competitive. He'll find a way to get some points on the board. He still has some things to work with, and him and Patty, I mean, back to their college days, have had some wild shootouts. I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to see 1,200 total passing yards between the two. And like
fantasy people are like, hold up.
Why not? No. But he's competitive. He's definitely found the type of quarterback he's going to be in this league. And it's a downright just brawler, honestly. Dude's tough as nails. He's competitive as shit. You'd be hard-pressed for me to think that the Bucs are going to get dominated in any game that Baker's out there. So I think it'll be close. Give me like the 27-21, 27-20 range with the Chiefs. That's kind of been like they're kind of just go-to scoring games. Chiefs kind of high 20s, and the other team like high teens, maybe 20. So like I don't see this being any different, but it wouldn't surprise me if it comes down to a field goal or something late either. So
obviously, Chiefs have the edge in special teams, I think, as far as that goes. So again, I want a good Monday night game. I really do. Some of the primetime games this year have been okay. I mean, the Thursday night games have been somewhat better than they were last year. Not much.
They couldn't get worse.
They couldn't get worse. You're right. And then, but you get the fucking Jets tomorrow. I feel like we've watched them on primetime forever. So cool. We get to watch the Jets again. Yay. We've seen Russell Wilson last couple times on primetime. At least he's actually looked pretty good. And the Steelers are flying high. So we're both taking the Chiefs. You're thinking a little bit closer than what I'm thinking. But again, unfortunately for us, well, not for you, but for us, it's the Chiefs undefeated, moving to 8-0, setting up, the next week for Denver. So let's touch on the Broncos game real quick before we talk some rookies. Denver hasn't faced a team quite like this yet this season. I can promise you we haven't faced a quarterback like we're getting ready to see. And then obviously big deuce in the backfield, Derrick Henry. I think if they use Derrick Henry, that's going to be a very, very long day. But as far as if they keep him to 11 to 13 carries and Denver can somewhat contain him, I like Denver's chances. I don't like the Justice Hill matchup because we've seen the Chargers get some no-name running back out on the linebacker. We saw the Saints try to do it a couple times. And then obviously the Panthers with Chuba Hubbard last week. So Justice Hill honestly could be a huge play as far as, because we know the Ravens like to use their running backs any which way that they can. So me being a Broncos fan, how do the Broncos win this game? We can't turn the ball over. We've got to play consistent offense. We got to keep their offense off the field. It's going to be quite opposite next week, right? You want the Ravens defense on the field. Next week, you got to face the Chiefs defense. It's a little different. Don't turn the ball over. I think Vance Joseph's going to have a plan for Lamar Jackson. I still don't like our defensive speed with him. The receivers don't scare me too much. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, those could be a little tricky matchups for what we have. But at the end of the day, I'm taking Broncos to win this game by 3. Give me that dub. We go to 6-3. It's going to be a 13-10 game.
Oh shit. God. No, please, God. Um yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. I actually like how Denver matches up corners versus receivers, mostly because I think the talent-wise they have good corners compared to their receivers. I'm still not a full-fledged believer that Lamar Jackson is like an elite thrower of the football. He's a good thrower of the football, don't get me wrong, but let's go back to week 1 where if he was elite and didn't miss a couple throws, Chiefs aren't undefeated starting week 1. So, with that being said, I think the tight ends and running backs, like you said, are a nightmare matchup for Denver. I think Isaiah Likely is going to be the biggest beneficiary of how these teams match up. I think Mark Andrews will be okay in the red zone, but I think it'll be like Likely was against the Chiefs, where anytime a play needed to be made or like a play was made, it was Likely. I think that'll be the case again this time. I don't, as much as I would love the Ravens to lose, to just keep making that window larger. Like is this in Denver?
No, it's in Baltimore.
Not that would change that might change how close the game was for me, but yeah, I'm not trying to be an asshole with this or anything, but like realistically, I think Ravens win like 34-17. They're coming off a bad loss to the Browns. That stings a little bit. They got a new toy in Deontay Johnson. They still have Derrick Henry. Like, it's still a good team, plain and simple. And I don't think Denver's quite there yet. Next year we could be having a different conversation on a matchup like this, but like right now, I don't think Denver's there. So 34-17 might be a bit extreme, so let me be a little nicer and do like 34 to like 18. No. 34-17 Ravens for me. I don't think Ravens are going to fuck around. I think they're going to come slap Denver in the mouth really hard, really fast. Because, I mean, they're an experienced team. They've been a winning team for a long time. I think they'll bounce back, and unfortunately, Denver's going to be the recipient of them bouncing back. So if Denver wins, awesome, thank you. But I kind of see more of like a Halloween bloodshed, just horror movie developing in that game. So sorry, Denver. Fuck you, Ravens. But I still think the Ravens by a lot.
Yeah, I think this is a game where Bo's going to have to use his legs a little more. Denver's line's actually held up rather well the last few weeks. And Bo's made really good decisions on when to run and when to get out. So I do think this is a game that he's going to have to use his legs to keep plays alive. That's why I see more bootleg action, play action pass going. And I even think some QB designed runs may be in the rotation this weekend as well. No, I'm ready to be wrong. I really am. But at this time, I'm ready to be right. And I think the defense may actually have to help us a little bit more. We may have, may need a defensive touchdown or special teams touchdown to help the offense out this week. And look and see where Kyle Hamilton is at all times, because he's a game wrecker. He's a game changer. But again, I like the matchups. I do. Confidence is a key. And Sean Payton keeps saying young and hungry can be dangerous. Well, go and show us this weekend. Go show us that young and hungry can be dangerous, and do it to a good team. Because, again, these next 2 weeks are going to be brutal. It can make or break. So
let's be honest. These next, even just 1 week, but we'll throw in the next 2 weeks is going to be a really good measuring stick for Denver. You'll learn a lot about where they are after the next couple weeks. Again, we're just talking how we feel we look, like how they match up on paper. But we'll definitely know a lot more about Denver after these next couple games. And I think we'll be able to speak more confidently about what we think about this Denver team after even just the Baltimore game. So it'll be a good measuring stick game. Really see where you're at halfway through this season.
I absolutely agree. So let's touch on these rookie quarterbacks real quick. I'm bringing you in on this because obviously stats say one thing, but we like to use eye test more than most. And I'm going to keep Caleb Williams out of this for now. This is going to be between Bo and Jayden Daniels, and here's why. Bo Nix is first with 12 touchdowns total, as leads all rookies. His rookie ranks in October were first across the board. He led all rookies with 870 pass yards, a 7 touchdown to 1 interception ratio, with 2 rushing touchdowns on top of that, with 3 wins. Do you think this is a Bo Nix, Jayden Williams race for Rookie of the Year, or do you think it's still a three-man race, or do you just see it being completely one-sided with Daniels? A good picture. And I think, honestly, the main thing out of this is 3 teams that were desperate to find a quarterback, right? They've been through so many quarterbacks over the X amount of years, on top of obviously Washington with their shitty ownership group, to new ownership group who's actually putting time, effort into the team, the staff, the coaching staff, and whatnot, and all that. So, again, I think that's the main thing, is these numbers show that these teams got it right with what they're looking at for quarterbacks, and whatnot for that. So, we will wrap up our episode this week. Make sure to find us on Apple, Spotify, and iHeart. No fantasy picks this week. We have some internet issues going on right now, so we will make sure to drop those on you guys next week. I can go ahead and just give you Austin's sleeper and bust. Oh, nope, I don't have that one. I do have mine. My sleeper is Courtland Sutton this week, going up against Baltimore. And then my bust is going to be Tua. The Dolphins going to Buffalo. So Courtland Sutton, sleeper. Tua is my bust. Thank you again for everyone who has followed us on Instagram, who's followed us on all of the podcasting services. So again, find us on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, and we will talk to you guys next week, hopefully after Broncos and Chiefs dub, setting up a big matchup between the Broncos and Chiefs next week. We will see you guys then.